Hey everybody. So with the TikTok ban looming, threatening to wipe out not just the book talk community here, but all of the little sub-communities on TikTok, I've been trying to think of how best to use that time. I feel that there's a possibility that something will still work out, but if it doesn't, then I want there to be enough time for a video that's meaningful to me to make it to people. And I've always had pretty limited reach on this channel. So I decided that the best way to go out was with a sense of community. This is all of the indie books that I have collected since joining the book talk community. Now, I did record this already once where I talked at greater length about each book. And the problem is that the video wound up being close to a half hour long. And I forgot that there's still a 10-minute time limit on TikTok videos. So we're gonna go quick. This is the book that I'm reading. It's by Alexandra A. Chan. It's a memoir combined with magical realism. There's a little bit of self-help, but not in a pushy way. It's more an invitation to sit and enjoy peace and have a cup of tea together. I strongly recommend it. It's a beautiful book to look at. There's beautiful paintings that Aleshka did, but the prose is beautiful, and I think the intent, the heart of this book is also very beautiful. I'm putting everybody's information up here, okay? This is The Adventures of Homeronyx in the Galaxy of the Future. This is the most recent book that I have finished reading. It is by indie author R.S.K. All of his information is here that I have for him. This follows young Homeronyx as she goes on her coming-of-age journey in the year 12,047. And it's a very fast-paced, frenetic book. It's a short read. If you like camp space adventure, but also want a grittier, gorier, modern twist to it, you might really enjoy this book. Next, I have these two books, which I have not yet read. This is A Mortal Heart's Desire, and this is The Puzzled Heiress. They are both by author Lindsay Constable. This book is about Professor Moriarty from Sherlock Holmes' half-American daughter, and she goes on adventures like that. And if you know me, you know that I really love Sherlock Holmes. In fact, my own series, the Ferret and Down series, is based on the structure of the original Conan Doyle series, where you have the novel and then the episodes and the novel and the episodes. This is something that I'm very interested in. This is a Pride and Prejudice retelling, A Mortal Heart's Desire. That is sort of Lindsay's niche, is doing creative retellings of that story. I believe this follows Elizabeth and Darcy on a trip to the United States. So to my discredit, I haven't read most of these, which is probably also why my collection is so much smaller than some people's on here, because I was working on my own project all summer, basically, and that was kind of all of my book time. This is a big one. This is Paragon Exordium, co-written by Mikkel Melwasul and David Tullius. Paragon Exordium is an urban fantasy. It's supposed to be very thrilling. I am looking forward to getting into this. Here's all of the contact I have for Mikkel. Next is Trying to Kill the Sun by TF author, and I did in fact get the hardcover because I love a good hardcover book. This takes place in an AU of the United States if there had been a nuclear war. So it's a little bit of a fallout situation from my understanding. I haven't read this yet. It's a superhero science fiction book. It follows a trans-masked sidekick named Builder, who ends up falling in love with the villain of the story, because I think it might be a situation where maybe the superhero is a bit of a villain himself, and maybe the villain is not as villainous as he seems. But I don't know. I don't want to give you any false expectations. I haven't read this yet, but I am greatly looking forward to it. Love superheroes, love science fiction. This is all of Thorin's stuff right here. Next is another superhero book. This is a superhero romance set in an alternate version of the world where superheroes just sort of exist amongst us. It follows a woman named Sarah Bailey who ends up involved with a superhero. And I haven't read this yet. This was one of the first ones that I got when I got to TikTok, though. And you should go follow Kate Page everywhere. Gravehounds by Sol F. Evers was the first book I read of fiction after I finished working on my own, or at least after I finished working on the main body of work for my own book. So this was sort of almost my reintroduction to pastime reading. And it was a great reintroduction. Gravehounds is a cozy gothic fantasy story, or maybe magical realism is more apt. It follows an ensemble cast, but principally a demon named Zero, who I think, unlike the other demons who are there, doesn't really remember why he's there. He doesn't know why he's a demon. Demons, angels, ghosts, spirits, shadows, shades, all these ghouls, these kinds of things are members of a class of people called the dead. They unlive with the living and amongst them, but are only visible to certain members of the living, like Vaya, who's one of the other main characters from this book. There's just a sense of pervasive melancholy through it, and but also coziness. There's a very strong element of found family here. I'm trying not to take too long on this. Go read Gravehounds by Swell Evers. The most recent indie book that I got was Frostbitten by Dietrich Stogner. He is a really warm and kind person. He's a really nice guy. I have not read this book yet. It follows a guard for a kingdom who sort of gets sent as like the lone stormtrooper to this outpost village in this sort of frozen tundra area. And he ends up on an adventure there. This is a fantasy book. And here's all of the information I have for Dietrich. And maybe fittingly, this is the first indie book I ever bought. If you go by the Kickstarter, when I signed up for the Kickstarter, this is Fate's Tether by Jade Neoma. It follows Queen Cosima, who has been locked away in her castle by her abusive husband, the king, for 50 years. And it is about her reclaiming her power and the power of the kingdom. It's a high fantasy novel with an extensive world building. There's maps, there's magic, there's adventure. I have not read it yet, but I am looking forward to. And finally, this is my book. This is the first book in the Ferredin Down series, Moon Have Mercy, which in this book we follow Ferredin on his coming of age adventure. This is a space western. It takes place in a harsh, I would say, maybe not cruel, but definitely indifferent universe. Ferredin has to figure out what his place is and what he wants. What does he want? What's important to him? And this is where you can find me. Finally, I just want to say that it has really been a lot of fun and really important to me to meet all of you and to get to participate in this vibrant, fun community. I hope I see every one of you around again sometime. Okay, bye.